look at that Oldsmobile V8. Bet you can't find the spark plugs. How about the carburetor? Can you find that? See, no carburetor either.
Well, that's one of the problems with these imports.
Oh, this isn't an import, no siree. This is a Chevrolet.
General Motors, once the undisputed titan of American automotive engineering, produced some of the most iconic vehicles of the 20th century. Yet, amid its many triumphs, GM also delivered a lineup of infamous missteps, especially during the 1970s and 80s, when cost-cutting, rushed innovation, and declining build quality tarnished its reputation. These cars were often born from bold ideas but undone by poor execution, leaving lasting dents in GM's legacy. From engineering blunders to design disasters, each model tells a story of what went wrong. So, join us as we count down the 10 worst cars GM built in the vintage era and why they failed. And hey, we know some of these rides might still hold a special place in your heart. Or maybe we missed an especially horrible GM creation. So, let us have it in the comments. Number 10. Chevrolet Vega from 1971 to 1977. The Chevrolet Vega from 1971 to 1977 remains one of General Motors' most notorious failures, symbolizing the pitfalls of rushed innovation and cost-cutting during the 1970s. Launched as GM's answer to the surge of small, efficient Japanese imports, the Vega was initially lauded for its modern styling, nimble handling, and lightweight aluminum engine. However, these early praises quickly gave way to widespread criticism as mechanical and structural flaws emerged. Its aluminum block 2.3-liter inline-4 engine, designed with a high silicon alloy called Silite to eliminate iron liners, proved disastrous. The alloy couldn't withstand high heat, leading to warped heads, oil consumption, and engine seizures within just a few years. The cooling system was undersized, further accelerating failures. Corrosion was another fatal flaw. Minimal rust proofing and thin sheet metal caused body panels to deteriorate rapidly, especially in cold or humid climates. By 1972, Consumer Reports warned buyers of the Vega's severe rust and reliability issues. Compounding these flaws, GM's Lordstown assembly plant suffered from labor unrest, rushed output, and poor quality control, producing inconsistent and often defective vehicles. Even the limited-run Cosworth Vega, featuring a DOHC engine, couldn't redeem the brand. Discontinued in 1977 after over 2 million units, the Vega became a case study in how innovation without durability can destroy consumer trust. Number 9. Pontiac Aztek from the 1980s. The Pontiac Aztek, released in 2001, is widely regarded as one of GM's most controversial vehicles, with concept roots tracing back to the late 1980s. Its design and execution reflect deep flaws in GM's vintage-era development culture. The Aztek's conceptual lineage began with GM's late 80s push toward futuristic crossovers. Early sketches from the GM Design Heritage Archive reveal influences from the Bear Claw concept, a rugged off-road SUV prototype based on the S-Series full-frame platform. It featured flared wheel arches, a wide track, and aggressive styling, aiming to blend utility with avant-garde aesthetics. However, by the time the Aztek reached production, GM's internal design by committee approach had diluted its original vision. The final model was built on the GM U-Body minivan platform shared with the Pontiac Montana and Chevrolet Venture. This choice compromised its structural integrity and off-road capability. The Aztek featured a 3.4-liter V6 engine producing 185 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission. While mechanically adequate, it lacked refinement and suffered from poor fuel economy, 18 miles per gallon city, 25 miles per gallon highway. The most criticized aspect was its design. The Aztek's fragmented body lines, oversized cladding, and awkward proportions were the result of conflicting mandates from marketing and engineering teams. Its split grille, triangular rear windows, and bulky rear end became symbols of aesthetic failure. Despite attempts to market it as a lifestyle vehicle with features like a removable cooler and optional tent, the public response was overwhelmingly negative. Sales were dismal, with fewer than 120,000 units sold over its 5-year run. The Aztek's failure became a case study in poor design governance and market disconnect. Though technically post-vintage, its conceptual DNA and development culture were rooted in GM's troubled late 20th century era. Number 8. Chevrolet Citation from 1980 to 1985. The Chevrolet Citation from 1980 to 1985 was General Motors' first foray into front-wheel drive compact cars, launched under the ambitious X-body platform. It was introduced to counter rising competition from fuel-efficient Japanese imports and to modernize GM's aging compact lineup. Despite strong initial sales, over 800,000 units in its debut year, the Citation quickly gained notoriety for serious mechanical and quality issues. At its core, the Citation featured a transverse-mounted engine and front-wheel drive layout, a radical departure from GM's traditional rear-wheel drive architecture. It came with a choice of engines, including a 2.5-liter Iron Duke inline-4 and a 2.8-liter V6. While these engines were relatively robust, the real problems lay in the drivetrain and chassis. The most critical flaw was the TH125 automatic transaxle, which suffered from premature failure due to poor lubrication and weak internal components. Many owners reported slipping gears, harsh shifting, and complete transmission breakdowns within the first few years of ownership. Compounding this were severe brake issues, particularly rear-wheel lockup under light braking. This flaw was so widespread that it prompted a federal investigation and multiple recalls. Build quality was another Achilles heel. The Citation was assembled at several GM plants, including Lordstown, which had a reputation for labor unrest and inconsistent quality control. Misaligned body panels, rattling interiors, and electrical gremlins were common complaints. The car's unrefined suspension tuning led to unpredictable handling, especially in wet conditions. Despite its innovative layout and spacious interior, the Citation's reputation was irreparably damaged by its reliability woes. Consumer Reports removed it from their recommended list within a year, and lawsuits soon followed. By 1985, GM discontinued the model, replacing it with the Chevrolet Celebrity. Number 7. Cadillac Cimarron, 1982 to 1988. The Cadillac Cimarron from 1982 to 1988 is widely regarded as one of General Motors' most damaging brand missteps of the vintage era. Conceived during a time of rising fuel economy concerns and import competition, the Cimarron was Cadillac's attempt to enter the compact luxury segment. Unfortunately, it was little more than a rebadged Chevrolet Cavalier, built on GM's J-body platform, and failed to meet the expectations of Cadillac's premium image. Mechanically, the Cimarron debuted with a 1.8-liter inline-4 engine producing just 88 horsepower, paired with a standard 4-speed manual transmission, an unusual choice for a Cadillac. Later models offered a 2.0-liter and eventually 2.8-liter V6, but performance remained underwhelming. Acceleration was sluggish, and handling was uninspired, lacking the refinement expected of a luxury vehicle. The car's suspension and braking systems were identical to its economy-class siblings, offering no premium upgrades. Interior appointments were modest at best. While Cadillac added leather seats, upgraded trim, and a digital clock, the cabin layout and materials closely mirrored the Cavalier's. Critics noted the lack of sound insulation, cheap plastics, and minimal differentiation from lower-tier GM models. The Cimarron's exterior styling also failed to convey luxury, with only minor grille and badge changes distinguishing it from its Chevrolet counterpart. The Cimarron's pricing, starting nearly at $12,000, significantly higher than the Cavalier, was widely criticized. Consumers and automotive press viewed it as a cynical badge engineering exercise. Sales were poor, and the model became a symbol of GM's declining product strategy during the 1980s. Cadillac's reputation suffered long-term damage, with the Cimarron often cited as a key factor in the brand's loss of prestige. Even GM executives later admitted the car should have never been released. Number 6. Oldsmobile Diesel V8 models, late 1970s, early 1980s. In the late 70s, General Motors introduced the Oldsmobile Diesel V8 engine as a response to the fuel crises and rising demand for fuel-efficient alternatives. However, the rushed development and poor engineering of these diesel engines, particularly the 5.7-liter 350 cubic inch and 4.3-liter 260 cubic inch V8s, led to one of the most notorious mechanical failures in GM's history. The 5.7-liter diesel V8, introduced in 1978, was based on the gasoline Oldsmobile 350 block, modified to accommodate diesel combustion. GM retained the same head bolt pattern and spacing, which proved inadequate for the higher compression ratios 21.5:1 required by diesel engines. This led to frequent head gasket failures, warped cylinder heads, and coolant intrusion into the combustion chambers. Compounding the issue, GM omitted a water separator in the fuel system, making the engines highly susceptible to water contamination, a critical flaw in diesel operation. The engines also suffered from weak crankshafts, poor lubrication, and inadequate fuel injection timing. Cold starts were problematic, and the engines were noisy, underpowered, 120 to 135 horsepower, and emitted excessive smoke. These problems were exacerbated by GM dealerships' lack of diesel service training, leading to misdiagnoses and improper repairs. The backlash was swift. Warranty claims skyrocketed, and customer dissatisfaction led to multiple class action lawsuits. By 1981, GM had issued several technical service bulletins and redesigns, but the damage to consumer trust was irreversible. The 4.3-liter variant, introduced in 1979, fared no better and was discontinued by 1982. The 5.7-liter diesel lingered until 1985, but never recovered its reputation. The Oldsmobile diesel debacle not only tarnished GM's image, but also set back diesel acceptance in American passenger cars for decades. It remains a cautionary tale of cutting corners in engineering and prioritizing speed to market over durability and testing. Number 5. Buick Skylark from 1980 to 1985. The Buick Skylark from 1980 to 1985 was GM's attempt to bring Buick's compact lineup into the modern era, but instead, it highlighted the pitfalls of rushed engineering and declining quality control. Built on GM's front-wheel drive X-body platform, shared with the Chevrolet Citation, Pontiac Phoenix, and Oldsmobile Omega, the Skylark introduced a transverse engine layout and McPherson strut suspension, innovative concepts that were poorly executed in practice. Buyers could choose between a 2.5-liter Iron Duke 4-cylinder or a 2.8-liter V6, paired with manual or automatic transmissions. Unfortunately, these cars became notorious for electrical failures, including faulty dashboards, ignition issues, and malfunctioning electronic control modules that triggered false warnings or caused stalling. Poorly designed wiring harnesses and grounding points only worsened reliability. On the road, the Skylark disappointed even further. Despite its front-wheel drive setup, it handled poorly, plagued by excessive body roll, vague steering, and braking instability that sometimes caused rear-wheel lockups, prompting multiple federal recalls. Inside, the Skylark failed to live up to Buick's comfort standards. Hard plastics, squeaky panels, and cheap upholstery betrayed its cost-cut origins. By 1985, it was replaced by the N-body version, leaving behind a legacy as one of GM's most glaring missteps of the early 1980s, a car that promised innovation but delivered mediocrity. Number 4. Chevrolet Chevette 1976 to 1987. The Chevrolet Chevette from 1976 to 1987 was GM's attempt to offer a fuel-efficient, entry-level subcompact during the post-oil crisis era. Developed under the Global T car platform, the Chevette was designed to be inexpensive and simple, but these virtues quickly turned into liabilities. It became emblematic of GM's cost-cutting approach, sacrificing innovation and quality for short-term affordability. The Chevette was powered by a 1.4-liter or 1.6-liter inline-4 engine early on, later upgraded to a 1.8-liter and eventually a 1.6-liter Isuzu-sourced diesel. Horsepower ranged from 53 to 65 horsepower, resulting in sluggish acceleration and poor highway performance. The 0 to 60 mile/hour time often exceeded 16 seconds, making it one of the slowest cars of its time. The 4-speed manual and optional 3-speed automatic transmissions were crude and contributed to its underwhelming driving dynamics. Technically, the Chevette featured rear-wheel drive, a dated layout for a subcompact by the late 1970s. Its suspension used a basic McPherson strut front and coil spring rear setup, offering minimal ride comfort and poor handling. Braking was handled by front discs and rear drums, but stopping distances were long and fade-prone. Interior quality was minimal. The cabin was Spartan, with hard plastics, thin seat padding, and minimal sound insulation. Electrical systems were prone to failure, and rust protection was virtually non-existent. Many Chevettes showed corrosion within a few years, especially in northern climates. Despite its flaws, GM sold over 2.7 million units, largely due to its low price and fleet sales. However, it failed to compete with more refined imports like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla. By the mid-1980s, the Chevette was outdated and technologically obsolete. It was discontinued in 1987, replaced by the front-wheel drive Chevrolet Sprint, and later the Geo Metro. Number 3. Pontiac LeMans, the 1987 Korean-built version. The 1987 Pontiac LeMans, a Korean-built compact sourced from Daewoo, marked a dramatic departure from its muscle car heritage and became one of GM's most criticized rebadging efforts. Revived after a 6-year hiatus, the LeMans nameplate was affixed to a version of the Opel Kadett E, European Car of the Year in 1984. GM's strategy was to manufacture the Kadett cheaply in South Korea via Daewoo and sell it in North America under the Pontiac brand. While the Kadett was well regarded in Europe, the Daewoo-built LeMans suffered from poor assembly quality, outdated engineering, and reliability issues. The 1987 LeMans featured a 1.6-liter inline-4 engine producing around 74 horsepower, paired with either a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic transmission. Performance was underwhelming, with slow acceleration and noisy operation. The suspension setup, McPherson struts in front and a torsion beam rear, offered mediocre ride quality and poor handling dynamics. Braking was handled by front discs and rear drums, but fade and uneven wear were common complaints. Interior quality was subpar. The cabin featured hard plastics, flimsy switchgear, and minimal insulation. Electrical issues such as faulty gauges and lighting failures plagued early models. Rust protection was inadequate, and many vehicles showed corrosion within a few years of ownership. Consumer backlash was swift. The LeMans was criticized for its misleading branding, as buyers expected Pontiac's traditional performance pedigree. Instead, they received a budget import with minimal refinement. Sales were modest, and the model was quietly discontinued in 1993. Number 2. Cadillac V8-6-4 from 1981. The 1981 Cadillac V8-6-4 was an ambitious but ultimately flawed attempt by General Motors to improve fuel economy through early cylinder deactivation technology. Developed by GM's Cadillac division, the engine was a modified version of the 6.0-liter 368 cubic inch V8 equipped with an electronic modulated displacement EMD system designed to shut down 2 or 4 cylinders under light load conditions. The concept was ahead of its time. Under highway cruising or low demand conditions, the engine would deactivate cylinders to operate as a V6 or even a V4, reducing fuel consumption. However, the technology relied heavily on the onboard engine control module, which lacked the processing power and reliability needed to manage such complex transitions smoothly. The system used solenoids to disable valve operation and fuel delivery, but the ECM often failed to respond quickly or accurately, resulting in rough transitions, hesitation, and drivability issues. Owners reported frequent stalling, surging, and inconsistent performance. The system was also sensitive to temperature and altitude changes, further complicating its operation. Cadillac issued multiple software updates and service bulletins, but the problems persisted. Many dealerships resorted to disabling the cylinder deactivation system entirely, reverting the engine to full-time V8 operation. Despite its engineering ambition, the V8-6-4 damaged Cadillac's reputation for reliability. It was offered only in 1981 across several Cadillac models, including the Seville, Eldorado, and DeVille. By 1982, the system was quietly dropped in favor of more conventional powertrains. The V8-6-4 is now regarded as a cautionary tale of introducing advanced technology before supporting systems were mature. While modern cylinder deactivation systems are common and reliable, Cadillac's early attempt was marred by inadequate electronics and poor execution, making it one of GM's most infamous vintage-era failures. At number 1, the Oldsmobile Omega from 1973 to 1984. The Oldsmobile Omega from 1973 to 1984 was GM's attempt to give Oldsmobile buyers a compact option, debuting on the Nova-based rear-wheel drive platform before shifting to the front-wheel drive X-body in 1980. The early models were simple and dependable, but the redesigned front-drive Omega quickly gained infamy for poor reliability, mechanical flaws, and cheap construction. Sharing its platform with the Chevrolet Citation, Pontiac Phoenix, and Buick Skylark, the Omega offered the 2.5-liter Iron Duke 4-cylinder or 2.8-liter V6, paired with manual or automatic transmissions. Unfortunately, its TH125 transaxle often failed prematurely, while flawed brake proportioning caused rear-wheel lockups and federal recalls. Electrical issues were rampant. Faulty wiring, flickering dashboards, and weak ECUs led to stalling and erratic performance. The interior felt low rent, with thin plastics, loose trim, and poor insulation undermining Oldsmobile's upscale image. Add rust-prone body panels and inconsistent factory assembly, and the Omega became a symbol of GM's quality crisis in the early 1980s. Despite good fuel economy and roomy dimensions, its reputation collapsed as quickly as sales. Discontinued in 1984, the Omega story remains a textbook example of badge engineering gone wrong, a car that promised progress but delivered only frustration. The vintage era of GM reflected bold ambition clouded by costly missteps. Rushed engineering, weak quality control, and confused branding led to disappointing cars that eroded trust and helped foreign rivals rise. Proof that innovation without execution invites decline. So, which of these GM misfires surprised you the most? Or did we miss one you think deserves a spot? Drop your thoughts below.